So we're going live on YouTube because Facebook has been acting up. Let me ask you a question right off the bat. How's your mental situation going? You see a golf ball behind me. I was able to, how do I say this? Go back in my memories and remember some golf memories that actually helped my mind, but it was a mess. So, can you relate to this? Can you relate to having a chaotic mental mess in your life? I hate that. But I was thinking, and it's really interesting. I love to think, and I love to think of things that might help you. And this had to do with a phrase. But before I share that phrase, I haven't shared much of my golf journey. I don't like to share in great detail, but I was, if you want to go back in time, I was determined in my golf career as a young person to accomplish two things. I wanted to get to college on a scholarship and turn pro. But there was a journey to that. And, sometimes it's good to share your story. I love what Dr. Caroline Leaf said. She said, when people learn how to tell their own story, their life change in ways they never imagined. So can I share a story? Can I share a story of my junior golf as a golfer? So let's talk a little golf. As a junior golfer, I found great success on the links. I mean, it just happened. It was just good. But I remember very young, I get so nervous before a tournament. And get this, there would be no other little girl in the tournament. So I automatically won, but I'd still get real nervous. Does that tell you something? But note this, my performance affected how well I felt about myself mentally. My performance affected how I was mentally. I'd spend many a day and night on the golf driving range. And my idea of just glory was having a big bucket of golf balls and on the range and being able to hit them one after another. I even remember the golf pro at the final place where I was a junior. He really liked me. And he would let me go out on the first tee as dusk when there's no golfers. And he let me take my shag bag down there. And it's just a majestic golf course. It was called Indian Canyon of Spokane. Any of you golfers out there. And he let me go on the first tee with my shag bag and one after another. And it was a really straight, you had to shoot it really straight. And it was down the hill. And I'd spend evenings. And the next thing I know, I'd hear whispers up above. And people were down there watching this little midget golfer one after another. So you can see I was just full of it. I know much of my striving instead of abiding came from this relentless pursuit to go to college on a scholarship and turn pro. As I said, I eventually accomplished that, but my saying to be the best, you have to work harder than the rest kind of tagged along with me. Strive, which when you're striving, you're so susceptible to chaotic messes. Not dealing with my mind and emotions was my undoing. The senior year and during the Christmas season of my college career, my dad suddenly passed away. For some reason, the setting where my dad was always with me as my greatest fan was the place of my undoing. I could stuff my emotions really good. And people are like, oh, she's doing so good. But when I came back to continue my collegiate golf, looks like I was on another All-American year. I was All-American my junior. Looked like I was going, but I crashed. I had no control and went from that All-American collegiate golfer to a wrecked shambles of a golfer. I remember this one memory. I would walk past the golf coaches of other teams and they'd usually acknowledge me. Hey, T, but I noticed they turned their backs to me or they would whisper and I could hear them. What happened to T? What happened to her? She was like, and it really crushed me. I share this honestly because years later, I can see the landscape of a wrecked mind that I was trying to walk through. And yes, I had a relationship with God in the midst of this mess. I loved God. I would get up 2 hours early in the latter years of my senior year just so I could spend time in the Word. By the way, I did turn professional and I was like in the mini tours. I don't know if you know what mini tours is compared to the big leagues. After my last round as a professional golfer illustrates the total mental mess I was experiencing. on the links of Palm Desert in California, trying once again to qualify for the LPGA Tour. I had a panic attack on the last round. I couldn't even make a putt. It's when golfers call it yips. If you're a golfer, you know. But I can look back and see all these different thoughts. What if I had a mental coach? Would that have helped me? I have no regrets. I don't even play golf now. No regrets at all, because I don't believe I would have been led to my godly husband or had two wonderful kids. So I read this little gem of a book a few years ago, and I talked about it in my last podcast. And all of this could be found on my Kingdom Mentor podcast, because I'm only going to go briefly into the next few sections. So I'm set up. But I will say, as I've learned my identity, the chaotic mental mess has slowly, as I learn my identity, gone away. I still wake up and I'm, do that FRP. What am I feeling? Bring it to the reality. Let me examine this. Let me enter, ask the Holy Spirit. So I'm still working on it. I think if you, I don't care if you're the greatest, like Dr. Caroline Leaf, she still says she works on her mental state. I mean, this is a lady who's unbelievable. So I did look through this, and it was a way of rhythm. And I kind of briefly talked about it, but it had to do with see it, feel it, trust it. And the seeing part, bring that into seeing it. Like, as a golfer, the thing you do is you stand behind the ball and you imagine where the ball needs to go. As a motorcycle rider, 15 years on a Harley Davidson, riding my own, if you wanted to turn right, you looked right. Your motorcycle went wherever you looked. So if you're going up and down a curly road like Dave and I did in the Colorado mountains, you surely, even though it's beautiful, you surely did not look over to the right because there's no rail there. So you certainly look straight. Okay. No, don't look there. It's just where you look is where you go. Seeing it here is, I think of it's more of it as you daily ask God for discernment, okay, on what you're allowed to see. Ask God for the discernment. See things through the eyes of God. And it's a discipline. You learn discernment as you start to focus. You see someone, see a thing. Don't see it as, see it. How does God see this? And then feel it. Feel it is like, I like to think of it's a part of the prophetic. If you're a feeler, you go ahead and feel it, but you continue to give it back to God and not let it overflow you. I like thinking of feeling it. When Dave sees someone, my husband Dave, and he'll start talking or he'll minister. Next thing he'll start crying. He says, I feel the Father's love for you. I'm trying to do that more. And it's really easy when you start seeing it. Oh, see this person as God sees him. Next thing you know, you feel it. So see it, feel it, trust it. What is Hebrews 11, verse 11? Now faith is acceptance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. You trust it. I think this is a place where you totally shift your belief system back to what God says. You put up a shield against the lies of the enemy. You trust it because God says it. I'm going to trust it. And then you feel it, you see it, you feel it, you trust it. And then what do? You release it. Now, a golfer doesn't say, this is like a rhythm thing. A golfer will say, see it, and then he'll feel it, and then he'll trust it, and then he'll release. Well, you can say release, because I think this is one of the most powerful things. Sorry, I'm getting excited. When you release it, it's actually, you feel it, you trust it, you release it. This is where you become part of the true awakening. You were born to be a carrier of his glory. I believe your name, as you see it, feel it, and trust it, and release his glory, that your name's going to be in future books of how people broke through this time we're living in. Part of the true awakening. You can be a true revivalist, not in your striving, but abiding. The rhythm of see it, feel it, trust it, and release it. I wrote a vine dresser word a long time ago, and it talked about being a revivalist. And it says, you are the much needed salt and hope for a loving meal at the Father's table. You are light to a world who thinks darkness is normal and struggles with enmity and strife. And it goes on to say, you are a revivalist, not by anything you do, but by your abiding. So as you see it, you feel it, you trust it, and release it. Just a mental way of being able to adjust yourself every day I'm going to see things as God sees. I'm going to feel what he wants me to feel. I'm going to trust it. I'm going to trust God that he's got this swing. He's got this life. He's got the rhythm of my life. As I focus on him and let him take control, as I deal with the mental mess, see it, feel it, trust it, then I can release it. I can release what he put inside of me. God put something magical. I hate to say that word, but let's just say God put something in you that is supernatural, that is extraordinary, because he's the extra to your ordinary. And it's a time to release it. It's a time to walk away from the mental messes of our soul, mind, will, and emotions. Take care of our soul. Again, it's like, I don't know how to explain this, but this is a locked position this golfer got into. And I can just see people locked and loaded to go forward in mental clarity, being able to affect their families, being able to affect their regions, being the shifter of atmospheres as they release from this place of mental clearness, of seeing it and feeling it and trusting it and then releasing it. Kind of all jumbled and explaining that to you, but I invite you to check out the Kingdom Mentor podcast. I talk about this in episode 165. I go into a little more detail about my history. And I just think it's good to share stories. And I've never shared the story of my golf completely. There's lots to the story of my golf, but I've never really shared it. Golf ball. See, golf ball. I used to live for that. Now, praise God, I can do without it. But I still, it's good memories. Good memories of my dad. He was such a big supporter. Anyway. So will you do it? Will you see it, feel it? If you want more information, if you want to really have a place of breakthrough, join me on an identity blueprint call, ikingsmedia.com/blueprint, all small letters. We can talk. I can't ask you questions. We could learn what your desires are, learn what your dreams are, learn where you feel stuck. Maybe it's a mental thing, maybe it's an emotional thing. And then lay out a breakthrough of rest to run. Because this is really what it's all about. When you get the see it, feel it, trust it, release it, you're in that place of rest to run. It's a beautiful place because you're coming from a place of rest. Your faith is hitched to the miracle working power of God. Like Sarah, you may have stuff going on, but the authority of your faith, you take authority, you take kingdom authority over all around you. The authority of your faith is resting in the promises of God. Check it out. Hebrews 11, verse 11 in the Passion. And then you tap into his faithfulness. That's running with declarations. You come from this place of rest, see it, feel it, trust it, release it, declarations. I love that. I never thought of that. See it, rest, see it, feel it, trust it, release it. Release is the run. Rest, run. Because we need you. We need your voice. We need you to stand up tall, speak truth, no matter if they think you're you're light to a world who thinks darkness is normal. You speak truth, you are light, and you make a difference in someone's life. So it's been an honor to get to talk to you here live on YouTube. See it, feel it, trust it,